Our second story for the week, my Wi-Fi sense is tingling. Comcast rolled out their Wi-Fi Motion early access to certain customers in the US, and this Wi-Fi Motion works by measuring a Wi-Fi signal strength. So your router between a device in your home, and maybe it's a computer, maybe it's your very smart speaker. It's so smarticle that this Wi-Fi signal strength, the router can measure it between them, and when someone walks through it, because we absorb energy, we reflect energy, we reflect the electromagnetic field, the pattern shifts, and this can be detected as motion. So Comcast was like, well, let's roll this out as a feature. So this is Wi-Fi Motion, and it can detect movement in different zones in their home while they're not there, and you'll get a little notification, right? So this is what that looks like. There is a graphic here, right? There you go. There's your device. I don't even know. They both look like routers. I'm going to guess the one on the bottom left is a router, and the one on the top right is your device. And you walk through that, and so it creates this zone, this oval-shaped zone. And so you will need multiple devices that cover different zones in your house. And yes, I read through the privacy policy. I don't have it here for you. They do monitor the Wi-Fi motion data, and they will share it with law enforcement or other third parties without notifying you. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. Color me not surprised. So this Wi-Fi sensing technology is around 10 years old. At the beginning, it was being used to measure your breathing patterns, right? University of Utah professor Neil Patwari concocted a study that put 20 wireless radios around a hospital bed that all send and receive to each other. So there's 300 data points, 300 different signal strengths between all of these radios. And so when your chest is rising and falling, they can detect the number of breaths per minute, and it was within 0.2 or 0.4 of the breath. So they created this tech to detect your breathing, and it wasn't very good. I mean, it took 20 radios, and so the market decided they wouldn't use Wi-Fi, but you could use Wi-Fi for things like monitoring and security industries. So checking to see if your grandma is moving around at home, or whether someone is in a particular hallway. Or they had very noble things like, all right, we'll get to a emergency area full of rubble, and we'll use Wi-Fi to detect if people are trapped underneath the rubble. It'll be so smart. And so Wi-Fi and other radio waves can be used to perform surveillance of people's movements at distance and outside of buildings, and detect how many humans are inside and their movements. And with a fine enough wave, you can even detect types of activities and their gestures. You can detect people moving their hands. You can detect people dancing, things like that. And so had a very noble cause. And then more recently, Patwari, this professor I'm talking about, he got a U.S. Army research contract. But this time he's doing the opposite. Now he wanted to protect buildings from external Wi-Fi surveillance, right? This Wi-Fi surveillance is really effective. You can set up hundreds of feet away. You can you can see through walls. You can see through walls, right? So the Army was like, nah, we don't want people seeing through walls, and we still want to have Wi-Fi indoors. So they hired Patwari to do a study. I couldn't really find information about that, but there's also a EU Advanced Networking Systems Department that had this project called CSI Murder. This CSI Murder corresponds to channel state information, which is it's a feature, it's metadata in Wi-Fi packets that are sent out, and that's what the attackers measure to learn about the wave propagation and how it's traveling, and any potential activity while measuring it over time. And so these attacks can happen passively or actively by measuring the Wi-Fi network from outside the building, or you can actually transmit into the target area and measure those signals. And so this study found that the strategy can be jammed by modifying the information in each Wi-Fi frame, and can also intercept an active attack and modify the packets to mess up their results and create a bunch of noise in their measurements, making it hard for them to detect. Now, I'll put a graph up showing you how precise they were able to track people's locations using this Wi-Fi sensing tech. Now, this isn't the first time this Wi-Fi sensing tech has been released to the public, not just the Army or EU. Verizon Fios has offered a similar Wi-Fi motion sensor, and Google Nest, although it doesn't use Wi-Fi, offers sleep sensing. So it's got a high frequency radar to detect your breathing, snoring, and coughing. So yeah, I mean, surround yourself with all these radio waves, and I mean, it probably, it probably won't impact your health. And hey, you can track your breathing, snoring, and coughing at night. Like what a gift. But as long as you don't think about how our cells use electromagnetic fields to communicate to each other, and ignore the mountain of evidence as overexposure to EMF has been linked to anxiety, depression, fatigue, cancer, and many other biomarkers of poor health, increased inflammation, all these things. And if you want to learn more about this, check out BioInitiative 2012's report, which did a meta-analysis of all of the available literature and studies out there on the effects of EMF on living things and compiled it in one place. It's very, very convincing. It's a report by, a team of over 20 people. Over half of those are doctors. Now, if you use a router supplied by your ISP, it might be a good time to switch before Wi-Fi sensing becomes optional no longer. Comcast, this is a beta stage, right? Other internet service providers might roll this out as a feature. Next thing you know, your Wi-Fi motion sensors is going into the data center, so they know whether you're at home or not. They're like Santa, right? They want to know everything. So as Wi-Fi becomes more pervasive in our homes, it's important to know the hidden dangers. Get rid of wireless and go wired. Improve your health, improve your privacy.